Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala. Yesterday we read the hadith that talk about the forbiddance of arrogance and pride, right? Remember those? We will continue to read. There's another chapter here that comes next. باب الدليل على أن من مات لا يشرك بالله شيئا دخل الجنة وأن من مات مشركا دخل النار. This concept we have studied it before in some other hadith. This part talks about the evidence that shows that the one who dies and passes away while he does not associate anything with Allah, he will be admitted to Jannah. And the one who dies as a polytheist, associating in worship with Allah, he will be admitted to the fire of hell. And there's a hadith narrated by Ibn Umayr. He said, I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, من مات يشرك بالله شيئا دخل النار وقلت أنا ومن مات لا يشرك بالله شيئا دخل الجنة. The hadith says, whoever dies in a state of associating with Allah and setting up rivals and associates with Allah in worship, he will enter the fire of hell. The narrator says, and I say, whoever dies and does not, in a state that he does not associate anything with Allah, will be admitted to Jannah. He's not saying this on his own authority, because many other ahadith we read, Prophet ﷺ saying the same thing. Okay, so he was just reminding the people. Also, there's a hadith with that same wording, where the wording is all attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. This hadith narrated by Jabir, we probably read it before. قيل يا رسول الله ما الموجبتان قال من مات لا يشرك بالله شيئا دخل الجنة ومن مات يشرك بالله شيئا دخل النار. Now, this other hadith says that whoever dies and does not associate anything with Allah, he will be admitted to Jannah. While the one who dies in a state when he associates other deities with Allah, he will be admitted to the fire of hell. I think the narrator of this hadith, the first one that we recited, in which he said, and I say such and such, maybe he wasn't 100% sure that he heard it from the Prophet. So that's what this is why he worded it like this. While other Sahaba who heard and were very confident of the full statement of the Prophet ﷺ said it in full, that the Prophet ﷺ said that. So he's just being on the safe side, and that's actually a virtue for the Sahabi, that he says, Prophet ﷺ said so and so, and I'm telling you so and so. Maybe he's just not sure where he got that statement from, so he's saying it as if it is his own saying. And that is because they were very diligent, they're very diligent about being very accurate in what in relating statements to the Prophet ﷺ. Actually, the hadith of Jabir is the next hadith right here, which I just recited to you. And there's another hadith in the same wording. I'm just going through them real quick. If there's any change in wording, I will mention to you. Yes, there's another hadith by Abu Dhar relating to Prophet ﷺ, saying that أتاني جبريل عليه السلام فبشرني أنه من مات من أمتك لا يشرك بالله شيئا دخل الجنة قلت وإن زنى وإن سرق قال وإن زنى وإن سرق. That's a different wording, in which Abu Dhar says that the Messenger ﷺ says, Jibreel came to me and said, give your ummah, give your followers the glad tidings that whoever dies while not associating in worship with Allah anything, he will be admitted to Jannah. Abu Dhar responded, وَإِن زَنَى وَإِن سَرَقَ. He says, even if he committed adultery or he stole. He says, yes, even if he committed adultery or he stole, or he was engaged in stealing. In another narration, which comes next, he says, وَإِن زَنَى وَإِن سَرَقَ قَالَ وَإِن زَنَى وَإِن سَرَقَ. He responded, yes, if he fell in these sins. What the Prophet ﷺ is saying here is that eventually he will enter Jannah, of course, because he has the greatest virtue of Tawheed, of worshipping none but Allah Azza wa Jal. Worshipping none but Allah doesn't make you a prophet, doesn't make you an angel. You might still have sins, and those sins could be minor or major. just because he committed major sins, which means he's going to be in the fire of hell forever. No. Since he has tawheed, he will definitely enter Jannah eventually, but he might be punished. So this is what means will be admitted to Jannah. Does not necessarily mean he'll be admitted to Jannah at face value right away without any previous punishment. You follow? We talked about this multiple times before. Abu Dharr repeated, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ, even if he steals and even if he commits adultery or he has committed adultery or stole. And of course he meant that he did not repent from these sins, because if he had repented, they would not even count as sins anymore. You follow? They might even be transformed into good deeds for the person, because he has overcome his weaknesses for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal and overcome his desires. And then he asked for a third time, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ, even if he stole, even if he committed zina, adultery. قال في الرابعة, he went on to the fourth time actually. And Prophet keeps on this. Yes, وَإِن زَنَا وَإِن سَرَقَ. And then finally, to basically to finish this discussion, he says, على رغم أنف أبي ذر, even if Abu Dharr dislikes this concept, even if you dislike it, it's not up to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the decree that he will admit him to Jannah, even if he has major sins, if he has tawheed. Abu Dharr, when he heard that statement, على رغم أنف أبي ذر, despite, this is actually figure of speech in Arab say, على رغم, despite of your nose, which means that even if you don't like it, that's how they say it. على رغم أنف means nose. Abu Dharr went out saying, على رغم أنف أبي ذر. He kept on repeating it, على رغم أنف أبي ذر. So, رغم أنف أبي ذر, how does the nose mean, how does this relate to despite Abu Dharr not liking it? أرغم الله أنفه أي ألصقه بالرغام وأذله، فمعنى قوله على رغم أنف أبي ذر أي على ذل منه لوقوعه مخالفا لما يريده، وقيل معناه على كراهة منه. How does the nose relate to the concept of somebody saying to you that this will happen even if you dislike it? The Arabs say رغم أنفه means that his nose was placed on the dust or on the earth. It became covered with dust or earth. And that's a sign of submission or a sign of humiliation. So anybody who is beat in any kind of argument, they say رغم أنفه, that his nose. How can you translate that, Abdurrahman? Can you help me with translation?
That's just like despite what he wants. I think you said it well.
You know, if you're in a fight with somebody, and you bring him down to the ground, and his face goes on the ground, and his face and nose rubs against the earth, and this means you've submitted them, you've broken their will. You know, and of course nobody likes to be in this situation, right? Nobody likes to be beaten down on the ground with his face covered with earth. So then it became a common figure of speech. If you want to say to somebody, this will happen even if you dislike it, they say to him, this will happen even if your nose and face are covered with earth. You follow? Yeah, stop here, inshallah. Now, you have a question?
Yeah. If he's stealing, if he did adultery, but he repented, Allah forgive him.
Yes.
If he steal, what about if he steal and he has to pay for somebody belonging?
Exactly. If he repents from stealing, then he has to make sure to pay and compensate the person for the lost wealth, the lost property. But if he is not able to, because that person has died or he lost contact, what?
If you couldn't locate the person.
If you could not locate the person, scholars say that he makes sadaqah with same amount, he brings out on behalf of that person. So as if he's delivering it to him in the akhirah, okay? And he asks Allah for forgiveness, and that would be it. You follow?
Yeah.
No.